Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour.
Yes, welcome to episode 91. So last week, got to give a big shout out and thank you to Pam from Cannot Be Tamed. Hell of a great guest, hell of a great person. Definitely make sure you check all the links to her page in the last episode that we put out there. Thanks again to her for coming on. And we're keeping the guest train rolling. Some could say from an unexpected source. So this week, we have Ken Bone with us. And for those of you who aren't going, who the hell's that right now? Think 2016, think red sweatshirt, but there's way more to him than just that. Ken, how you doing, man?
Oh, no, pretty well. How you guys doing?
Doing good. So I know everyone out there's like, Ken friggin' Bone, what's he doing on this podcast? So you were actually on our buddy's podcast, The Thought Cops, and all of a sudden about halfway through, you just started spouting off all this gamer knowledge. And I was going, holy shit, he's a gamer just like us. This would be a perfect guy to talk to about this kind of stuff. So thanks for coming on, man.
Well, I don't know if I'm just like you. I'm seeing your setup behind you, and I'm very jealous / impressed, but I'll see what we got.
No, this is unhealthy. Do not be like this. Never turn into this. For the love of God.
I have a room like this, different shit.
There you go.
You spend your time looking at important stuff. We spend our time playing games and drinking way too much beer. So
I'm glad that you think I do something important. That's real nice of you, bud.
Well, you get in front of presidential candidates and make valid points while we just argue with each other about who's a bigger asshole for playing what game. So,
well, that's cool. I don't want to have to do what I do anymore. I'm going to retire from politics and go back to drinking beer and playing video games.
So that was, one of the first things before we get into some of our topics. How many times had you gone to any political events prior to that televised one?
Never.
So it was just kind of fun.
I don't even go to HOA meetings.
Damn.
Like I've never even been to a friggin' PTA or an HOA meeting. It's silly to me to watch people fight over petty bullshit. But I got this random invitation to go to this. I was like, oh, that seems neat.
Yeah. And I guess what was what was it like afterwards? Like from your friends, from family? Like were they giving you a bunch of shit, kind of busting your balls after that once you start getting all the attention?
Well, for the first month or so, everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing ever. Tell us this story again and do this and tell us this and tell us this and what's this guy like? Yeah, because I met all like the cable news personalities and some senators and Congress people and even a couple of actual celebrities. And they're like, tell us what this guy's like. And it very quickly transitioned into, oh my God, he's going to tell the goddamn story again about how he saw Robert Downey Jr. one time. And I can't listen to it again.
How many of those places, or did any of those places or people request, like when talking to you about you wearing that red sweater? Like that thing has to be the bane of your existence.
Everybody asked me to wear the red sweater, and I always tell them no. I only wear it for charity stuff, pretty much. I'll wear it for like a paying gig if the price is right.
Yeah.
And I'll wear it for charity, but that's it. Like I'm on Cameo. You can book me on Cameo, where custom video greetings for to tell my brother-in-law happy birthday or whatever. And people all the time are like, wear the red sweater. And I'm thinking like, man, I only charge like $20 for this. I'm not wearing fucking red sweater. I don't have the original one anyway. I only have this cheap knockoff part of a Halloween costume that I bought a couple years back because I didn't even have one. I sold the original one for charity. You got like 10 grand for it.
Wow. Damn. Holy shit.
Charity in the area. And then I was like, thank God I'm finally rid of the thing. I hate it. I hate putting it on. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me feel like a freaking cartoon character. Like, did you want to talk to me or did you want to talk to my stupid sweater?
It's such an odd thing for people to have to really just grasp onto. I never get that when shit like that. They're like, oh, it's, red sweater guy, green shirt guy. All those things kept popping up.
I know a green shirt guy. He's a good dude. His name's Alex.
Exactly. That's my point, though. Like, there are people behind it, but everyone just knows them because of the media. It makes a big deal of those people. And it just, I don't know. I love that you were able to pivot that, though, into something for charity, make a little money on the side for that. That's awesome. I think it would be really cool.
It's so weird. Like any cable news person that's like, can you wear the sweater, or anybody? It's like, can you wear? I'm like, what? let's just pretend like you get Brett Favre on the show next week. Is he gonna wear his fucking football helmet? No, he's just gonna wear whatever he was wearing that day.
Yeah, it's gotta be weird to have that meme following you basically everywhere at this point, right? It's going on 5 years now almost.
It's crazy. It's been a year and a little over or 4 years and like a month or 6 weeks or something like that.
But who's counting?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and it seems like, you're around for a little bit and then every once in a while you like pop up here and there, or like there'll be some like random like Twitter like snafu, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, what the hell's Ken Bone here doing with throwing his name into the hat and shit like that?
Yeah, it's always weird when people are like, man, Ken Bone's back. I'm like, I didn't go anywhere. And then one of my favorite attacks is people like, you're not even relevant anymore. I'm like, do you have to be relevant to use Twitter? How are the rest of you plebes using it? Like,
Yeah,
at least I was on television once, you fucking hack.
Yeah.
You have a blue check mark. We don't have the blue check mark.
I do.
Who are
I'm
we?
a verified nobody. A friend of mine, Bridget, who runs a podcast or a couple of podcasts, she sells some of her merch is a mug with the blue check on it. It says verified nobody.
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
I love that. Dude,
One of
I
those
think
coming
it
in
would
the mail, I
be
hope.
it would be so great though if you did like if somebody that runs I don't know, like a merchandise shop or something, literally take that like whole red sweatshirt thing, never wear it again, but sell it to people and just put KB, your initials on there, and just sell it for stupid money. Like I love those turnaround like little like, okay, you want to make something out of me, I'll make something out of that.
Yeah, I probably
Yeah,
could have
okay.
ripped it off. Like Izod made the sweater, and they paid me a whole bunch of money. They paid me a whole bunch to be their spokesperson for the rest of the year. And the same company that owns Izod also owns Calvin Klein. So I was technically a Calvin Klein model for several months. Take that, body image issues.
Wow, you're just adding on to that
But
resume.
it's just a standard, red cable knit sweater. It's
Yeah.
not patented or anything. So really, I could just be churning them out there and putting my own, like my big stupid face on where the alligator would go for Lacoste or whatever,
Exactly.
and selling it. But I don't think anybody'd buy them.
I think somebody would buy them. And I love the fact that you just said you were a Calvin Klein model, and I would love in your Twitter bio if that's what you just write. I'm a former Calvin Klein model. Like, just leave it there.
Sure, Twitter bio needs an update. It's been the same for a long time.
So again, $20 seems like you're selling yourself short. Undertaker's doing them for $1,000. I think
Well,
he's setting the bar
Undertaker-
higher for everyone.
Undertaker's a little more in the cultural awareness than I am right now. I would rather have a message from Undertaker than from me, for being honest. Also, I think he's limiting, like he's only doing 20 of them, so they're going to be collector's pieces.
Yeah.
Videos from Undertaker that say happy birthday.
And I think one was legitimately like, your mother's saying you're doing a good job. Like that just has to be a super fan mark out there.
I guess.
I mean, you drop 1,000 bones. I don't know what it looks like, but I hope he at least puts full effort into the video for $1,000. And he's not just like sitting there eating his Cheerios like Undertaker says hello. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Luckily, he was in
pretty
costume.
much. Everybody tries to put a little effort into it. Undertaker is going the extra mile, wearing all his gear and everything. I don't do that. Sometimes I'll wear a red T-shirt to give the TV magic illusion that I'm wearing a red sweater. But that's about as far as I'll go usually.
So Ken, I'm sure you've been talking about the sweater for goddamn years now. But more importantly, are you drinking anything tonight with us?
Well, I'm drinking Bud Light, so hopefully this is not one of those beer podcasts where we look down on the proletariat like me who enjoy American light lagers.
Sir, please. One of my favorites is Keystone Light. So you're
Oh,
speaking to a
very
brother
nice.
in arms here.
Keystone Light is my dad's go-to beer because he doesn't like spending very much money on beer.
God damn
It used to be
right.
Bud Ice, but it's harder to come by.
Bud Ice is definitely hard to come by these days. No, we have definitely never looked down on that. And it's funny because when we start the page, our point was we were tired of beer snobs always looking down on those beers. So we tried to make some criteria saying like, hey, value of beer means something too, not just all these other things. It turned out disastrous, but either way, we've always still stood up for one of our favorite local beers is called Lion's Head. I don't know if you've heard about that in Illinois, but I mean, you can get an entire case for $14 and they have a little puzzle on the top, like a Pictionary puzzle. I'm still one of my favorite beers to this day. So I'm all about the cheap beer. Whatever you like to drink, drink it up. So cheers to that, Ken.
One of my best work buddies is from Philly. He loves Lion's Head. And
there you go.
He always says he'll bring some back the next time he goes home. Then he doesn't because he's an asshole. But yeah, the beer snobs are the worst, man. They put any of those, like, what wine do you pair with what protein people to shame.
Oh,
like, come on, man. We're the working class here. We're brothers in arms. We're beer drinkers. Just wear what you dig, drink what you like. The most fancy I'll usually go is like St. Archer Gold because it's still kind of light and crisp.
I mean, beer, unfortunately for Jim and I, between beer and video games, you talk about two of the most divisive crowds out there. Like, you got beer snobs, you got video game snobs, and we see a lot of similarities, and I'm sure you see it in any arena that you get interested in. But yeah, God forbid you like a beer that is considered a macro, or it's cheaply made, or it's not just a pure IPA. Like, you're going to get hated on no matter what. So we're just like, enjoy what you enjoy. Just don't be a dick to people just because they like what they like.
Yeah, just because you got used to
it's crazy.
Yeah, these people, like, just because they got used to like tasting a tree's asshole, it doesn't mean that like it's actually what they're drinking tastes good. It's just they want to pretend like they have a more refined palate. Like Brian and I are at the point where like we can do it, and there's a lot that we like at this point, but it's also, you know, we're never going to turn down a cheap beer, especially if anyone gives us one. So.
No.
Yeah, usually the people are like, oh, beer is an acquired taste. You have to drink more so you can expand your palate. Be like, I don't know, man. The first time I drank a Miller High Life, I really liked it. So I don't want to have to put too much work into what I drink. There's just so many options available out there for things that I do enjoy. Why do I need to put work into consuming more calories, which is the last goddamn thing I need?
I hear you there.
Yeah.
I have my app on my phone right now that we record every Monday, and every Monday that little red line just goes because of all the beer we put away during this thing. So,
Jim, I told you, just stop putting it in for these nighttime gigs. Just
right?
Ignore it.
I have to be a good boy, kind of.
Well, be a good boy the rest of the day. Don't worry about your goddamn beer.
Well, I have problems, all right? I have impulses. Right. I've never said no to for 34 years.
All right. So then what do you got tonight, Jim?
Actually, thanks to you, Brian, I am drinking the Buck Naked, which comes to us from the Naked Brewery. So, Brian, I don't know if you want to tell us about our little plan we have going forward.
Yeah, so we've talked about it a few times when we want to do these brew reviews and supporting our local breweries. Jim and I were talking, and I said, okay, why don't we start hitting up all of our local breweries and literally just buy every beer they have available. Like, we'll go in, halvesies, buy every beer, review them all, and that's kind of where we started with the Naked Brewing Company. I actually just finished that beer, Jim, so I want to hear your take before I give you my opinion. And kind of as a shout out, next week we actually have the head brewer coming on our podcast to talk to us. So, yeah, it's a really great brewery. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it right now. But, yeah, our goal is to hit up as many local breweries as possible because especially during this really shitty COVID time, it's important because breweries are closing left and right. So if you do like your local breweries, make sure you go out there, support them.
And also our lovely Governor Wolf has decided to, just as of today, to shut down alcohol sales inside restaurants and any place of business and gathering after 5 p.m. So now we just encourage day drinking in PA, I guess.
Yeah, everybody knows COVID doesn't come out until it gets dark.
Exactly. Right. It just hides.
All these curfews and early hours and shit. Like, I get that you want to clean the joint or whatever. So, like, Walmart used to be 24 hours and now it's not because they want to. Look, I used to work at Walmart. And I fucking guarantee you, unless they're paying somebody $50 an hour, they're not wiping down every front of every shelf and every product and sanitizing it. They're mopping the floor. They're doing all the stuff they would normally do at 2 a.m. while there's already people there. But now we're compressing down the hours so that instead of, because I'm one of these psychopaths that I'll go do my grocery shopping at 3 a.m. I'd
Right.
be all about that. That's no problem. Yeah, but no, now we all got to cram into the same store at the same time. As long as that store is owned by a gigantic national corporation, you can't go to stores that
It's
are owned by
perfectly fine.
everyday human beings.
It's perfectly fine to line up outside no matter what the elements are. So supposedly 6 feet away from each other, which, that always works.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jim, I think my beer then reflects, if you want to do a little play on words, I'm doing Dirt Wolf Double IPA.
Oh, there you go.
From Victory, another semi-local to us. Obviously, love those guys. We've talked about their beers many times on this podcast. And this is just a leftover from one of our previous podcasts. Had a 6-pack, so I wanted to finish those off before I hit up any more of those Naked Brewing beers. One of my favorites out there, but it's funny you just mentioned Wolf. Dirt Wolf. Get it, Jim? You don't get it.
Wolf. Dirt Wolf. Got it. Segues. Yeah, back to your point about the Buck Naked. This is really smooth. I don't know if it got a little decarbonated from being in the crowler or whatever, but no, it goes down nice. This is a Pilsner, isn't it?
No, it's a cream ale, which is
okay.
It's one of the weirder type of beers because it's brewed like a lager, but it's finished like an ale. So it's like a weird hybrid. It basically tastes like an American lager, like an atypical American lager, except a tiny bit more flavor. And it's extremely easy to drink. And what was it, 5.5? Or it's like 5.3% or 5.5%. So
something like that. We've been recording for 15 minutes, and I'm almost killed this off completely. So it just goes right down.
Yeah, exactly. No, but Ken, the real question though, as Jim alluded to, you were talking to our buddies on Thought Cops. We know, unfortunately, since we're all been locked in, have you had a chance or have you been playing any games recently with all the time you have?
Well, just to hop on here, I paused Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, the new
nice
Legend of Zelda entry. It's not a mainline entry. It is it's their second kind of spin-off in the vein of Destiny Warriors. It was developed by the Destiny Warriors team. So the gameplay is very, very different. There's no dungeon crawling. There's very little exploring. It's mowing through wave after wave after wave of monsters, but it gives you that great God of Death feeling, like a new game plus, without having to play the game first. You just line up fools and knock them down all day and all night. There's a certain appeal to that.
I love the lack of strategy those type of games require. They are the perfect just pick up. If you want to get a little anger out, you want to do whatever, like you just pick those up, and there is something so satisfying. I was actually curious. So have you put a lot of time into it? Has it has the novelty worn off, or is it still just as fun for you?
I think I'm probably 7 or 8 hours in, something like that. And I got a feeling there's probably not that much more to it unless you're a super completionist. As most of the side quests don't even involve any user input of any kind. It's like, hey, do you have these resources? Click on this button to trade these resources for a new move for this character, or trade these resources for reduced cooldown time on some of your special abilities or whatever. And those all appear as like types of quests on the map. The huge majority of the quests are just menu navigation and resource trading. And I've gotten far enough along now where some of the resources are running a little short, so it's getting a bit grindy. You have to go back and replay some of the earlier levels to lay your hands on some of the resources. Nothing ridiculous yet, and it's still novel enough, and there's enough story element in it to keep you going.
Now, did you play the first one, either the Switch re-release or when it was on Wii U?
I played it when it was on Wii U. It's like its own separate universe. It's a story unrelated to any previous Zelda title. So it's a standalone story that brings in elements from multiple different Zelda games through some kind of like time traveling, universe crossing, some kind of magic doodad.
Right.
That brings in like, oh, you're going to get you're going to get this version of Zelda and this different version of Link, but you're also going to get Fi, the spirit of the Master Sword from Skyward Sword, and you're going to get Mipha, I think they added Mipha later in the Switch re-release are all the champions from Breath of the Wild, and you're going to have a different version of Impa in there. There's all kinds of side characters from all different kinds of Zelda games. So it was a fun time just playing for the novel story. And of course, the original, this is a prequel to Breath of the Wild. So it's a direct tie into Breath of the Wild. Probably just trying to build hype for Breath of the Wild 2, which is most likely going to be next year. They haven't announced an official date, and it might get COVID delayed also. But it's just kind of expanding the story on the 100-year time frame before Breath of the Wild, when Hyrule basically got destroyed.
Nice. So, damn, you're just about to... So, are you... It sounds like you have a lot of back history with Zelda there. Are you like one of the diehards who's been there from the beginning, or played all the different games?
I've played every mainline Zelda game and a lot of the mobile games and spin-offs and all that. And I've enjoyed almost all of them. I didn't really like some of the mobile ones, like Spirit Tracks. I didn't like that much, and that kind of stuff. But all of your like showcase, mainline titles, I've really liked quite a bit. Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, and Link to the Past. Those are like the standouts for me.
So even Skyward Sword, people seem to hate that one.
I liked Skyward Sword a lot. Like, I understood what they were going for. The motion capture mechanics weren't exactly perfect. So yeah, there was some frustration at times, and there were some elements that you could have done without. But it was one of the very first motion control games where motion control is really a necessary part of the game. And just the act of having to swing the controller in different directions, it really did give almost a sense of immersion that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. It also made my wrist hurt really bad from doing shield bashes with the terribly, terribly insensitive nunchuck attachment for the Wiimote.
Yeah, and what do you call it? Skyward was also Motion Plus boosted, right? So you had the Motion Plus good out of the right Wiimote, and then you still had the nunchuck from 2006. It's just going all over the place.
Yeah, and the nunchuck didn't have that much motion elements, but one of the important moves was bashing with your shield. It's how you could set up parries and stuff. It was, and if you couldn't do it properly, you could not do the final boss fight. The final boss fight required you to do it. It'd be pretty decent at it. It wasn't super hard. Zelda games are very forgiving on the difficulty curve, but you did need to be able to do this move. And if your nunchuck was a piece of shit, like 89% of them were, then you were going to have a frustrating time in some of those boss encounters.
Now, Ken, I'm curious, with the holidays coming up and with the releases of Xbox Series X and the PS5, are you just sticking with Switch and this gen, or are you getting anything new?
Well, if I could get my hands on a PS5, I probably would. But I also just had to buy a new freaking water heater and have my washing machine repaired within the last week. So... well, my discretionary income has been spent on stupid homeowning bullshit. So I probably won't be investing in the next gen for a while. But that's okay because, every successive generation seems to have fewer and fewer and fewer games, especially in the first year. And especially with the COVID delays. Like, there's not going to be pretty much anything for the PS5 that can't be played on the PS4 at a slightly lower frame rate and resolution for a good long time.
Bug snacks.
Yeah, bug snacks. But I'm an old man with bad eyes who really has difficulty telling the difference between 1080p and 4K. So I don't know how much more juice I need to squeeze out of my console right now. I might be able to wait a little bit.
Damn you, Jim, for saying bug snacks. If I see one more goddamn person post about that.
Yeah, would you like to be a horrifying Dr. Moreau knockoff playing God with a whole bunch of bugs and random objects? Apparently these residents of the town just want to be turned into unholy abominations unto the Lord by eating these bugs.
For kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, for children.
But I love how everyone's like so excited. They're like, I got every achievement. I'm like, apparently everyone's got every achievement for that and every trophy, because I haven't played the game, but it can't be that hard. But like, that's the big go-to. I remember when PlayStation opening day games were something amazing, and now you're at bug snacks. Like, that's crazy. So to your point, Ken, yeah, like Jim and I have never been first release console buyers. We always wait. Let it drop $100 or $200 and have a couple more good games with it and package whatever the best game is out, like they always do. So
yeah, I mean, when we start talking like sequels to God of War or Horizon Zero Dawn, then I'm going to start getting on waiting lists, or I'm really going to be, watching to make sure I can get down on that. But for right now, it's like, hey, you can play Spider-Man Miles Morales at a slightly higher resolution.
You're like, oh
okay,
boy.
well, I'll just play the resolution I already got, which, oh, by the way, a lot of these games, if you buy the PS4 edition, come with a download code for the PS5 edition. So they're just encouraging you to not buy the hardware right now, I guess, because they can't churn it out fast enough.
Yeah, exactly. No, they're being, I think the only reason they acquiesced to doing that, because a lot of the AAA titles are doing that, where you get the code for both for the same price, is because of the COVID shit. They know the sales are going to be down. They're just like hedging their bets that like, okay, well, you'll have an excuse when it is time to go and buy that new console. You'll have some games in your library, so you don't have to buy it twice. So I guess that's a silver lining here, that they're at least considering the consumers a little bit. They're not like Nintendo, which will make you rebuy the same game 20,000 times for every console.
Oh, good Lord. I mean, I have many games on my shelf, from back in the days before backwards compatibility, that I have in 3 or 4 different editions. Not quite to the extent, oh, here's my wife handing me more beer. Thank you.
Good woman.
But not quite to the extent of, like playing Skyrim on my refrigerator or my Apple Watch. But like I own Final Fantasy X, I think 6 different times. I know it's not a Nintendo game, but it's probably my worst offender.
And that's your favorite game, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, if I had to pick like all-time favorite, that'd be it. I actually enjoy playing Blitzball. I could do it for several hours.
Everyone, like, I was never a big RPG guy, but like even back in high school when it dropped and that was like the big game, like everyone was just talking about Blitzball the whole time. So I didn't even know there was like a hate around that. Like I know there was like a retroactive hate for like Titus and all the characters, and then 10-2 just being fan service the game, that kind of deal. But I always heard nothing but good things about the Blitzball part.
Well, it's pretty grindy. Like in true Final Fantasy fashion, every character has their ultimate weapon, which by the time you get said ultimate weapon, you're so overleveled that you could play unarmed and it wouldn't friggin' matter. But you got to have it. You got to have every.
Of course,
you have to have it. Well, to get the one for Waka, the Blitzball player, who's voiced by the same guy that voices Bender from Futurama, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. Try to unhear it next time you're watching that game. Any clips from that game. But as you're playing that Blitzball, you have to win like multiple tournaments, and the prize for the tournament will be pieces that you need to get this ultimate weapon. Well, not every tournament will have one of those prizes. You might have to win 2 or 3 tournaments before this thing becomes available as a prize, and then you have to win the tournament. And every tournament is like, I think it's 4 games that you have to win, and every game takes 10 or 15 minutes, so it gets pretty grindy.
All right, here's a question for you. So people these days, that it just sounds like a loot box basically, but one that you have to earn. So if you could go back in time and you could just pay to have the same amount of chance as doing the tournaments again and again, do you think you would have just caved and saved a couple weeks of your life, or would you still just grind it away?
To afford the game in the first place, I wouldn't have had any disposable income to take a shot at the loot box. But then I've never really been a paying for additional content kind of guy. Like, and you get to the end of Interstellar.
Nope. Lost him a second. There he is.
Yeah, we're back. Internet here in Southern Illinois. I can still hear you.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just cut out. I was just like, Ken?
I'm pretty sure it was me. The internet here in the St. Louis area despite being very expensive, has the benefit of being horrible.
Gotcha.
It's up to 100 megabits per second. So I guess the 1.7 megabits per second that I tested at yesterday afternoon, that's up to 100, right? That's not false advertising.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not being throttled through all your neighbors like old school DSL. Nah, you're fine.
No, but yeah, like Jim's point, I was going to
insanity.
ask kind of the same thing. We look at to games today, and they'll do the same thing. They'll make it very grind heavy to unlock anything, even if it's aesthetics. But I feel like, our generation, we grew up getting used to that because there were plenty of games. You'd have everything, but some of them, they were crazy amounts. Like, all right, you really want everything, you're going to have to spend a lot of time. And Final Fantasy X was the extreme of that level, like you're saying. Like, you have the randomness of the part and then having to do so much just to get the part to begin with. So it's kind of like, which one do you prefer? Pay to unlock it faster or just do it? And it seems like more and more, I don't know, my parents would have never given me any extra money for it. So I guess kids are just getting spoiled earlier. Because if my kid ever comes to me and says, can you give me some money to unlock something in a game? I'm like, nope, you're going to play it the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And where it really gets bad is like EA is one of the terrible offenders, of course, is you have to grind for 60 plus hours. So a week and a half of full-time work, or pay $5 for maybe a chance at getting this thing that is the only shot in hell you have at being competitive in the multiplayer.
Yeah.
As part of the core experience, you have to either pay extra for or you don't get. You're going to lag weeks and weeks and weeks behind the meta, which is constantly changing in these live service games. They're nerfing certain weapons, powering up others, changing how different weapons interact with different defenses constantly and from one aspect, it's great that they can do these patches and help balance the game. But from another aspect, it's very easy for them to manipulate and say like, hey, nobody's buying the platinum tier loot box, so let's hide something in there that just absolutely shreds the shields off of the most popular character.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about that last week, and it's something a few times we've mentioned. I think the way around that is if we just all accept that games should probably be more expensive than $60. Like, they've been that price from when we were kids, and Super NES new games were $60. Yet somehow everything else inflated except for the price of brand new games. So if they said, you know what, games are $70, $75, it would initially be like, that sucks. But if they got rid of all that other bullshit and kept including everything, I think it's a fair compromise. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd absolutely be willing to pay $75 and that's the price tag and that's it.
Yeah.
And you have all the content, you're able to have all the experiences. This is the game. And if something about it is broken, we will fix it.
Yeah.
But there's nothing else to it.
Yeah.
We might even release additional seasons of content, but you already bought them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the standard. Even like Call of Duty now is at the point where you don't pay for the season pass anymore, but you could pay for like certain other unlocks. But like, I think in the past, it was always you were guaranteed to spend an extra $20 on top of the $60 to get all the DLC packs and everything. So it's like you'd buy the game, then get season passes of whatever service. And I'd rather just not have to do that. Just pay you a flat price. Tell me you're going to release the stuff, and that's it. It feels less grimy when you just pay it all up front.
Yeah, even season passes didn't bother me as much because it was like, well, at least if I give you my extra $20, I know what I'm getting for them. I'm getting, 3 single-player DLCs and 5 extra maps for the multiplayer or whatever. As long as we know up front what's coming. But I still would rather it be included up front as part of the game. Like, hey, I really don't like the multiple different editions of the game. Like, yeah, there's the base edition of the game, and you can play day one multiplayer. Just be ready to buy additional map packs, or else you're going to be excluded from a bunch of different game types starting in a month. I'd much rather just have it all up front.
And
And
speaking of
yeah.
EA, I remember with fucking Mass Effect 3 when the big controversy was the day one, oh, you want one extra character that's important to the story? Well, you got to pay for that. And everyone, this is an outrage. I'm never doing it. And then just seeing how it evolved like 8 years later. Where it's
Yeah.
like, all right, you buy a game, you get like 2 maps and maybe one guy. And then, you just keep buying everything else. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things Jim and I do every time a new Mortal Kombat is released, and we know there's going to be a lot of great DLC, we wait till they release the gold edition with everything, and it's still the same price as the original new game. And even then, we'll wait till it's like $40, and then you don't pay for anything. Sure, we're missing out on the game brand new, but honestly, like most people, I think, how many people have just a backlog of other games you need to get to? So it's like, just do yourself a favor, wait, save a few dollars. Jim, you son of a bitch.
What?
Half that shelf has never been played.
Sir, how dare you? All of this shelf has been played. Don't look at this part. Actually, Ken, speaking of shelves, you mentioned that you were admiring my little sickness back here. In your game room, what do you think would be taking up the most parts on your shelf? Would it be one's console, one specific genre? Take us through like a little like mini virtual tour almost.
Well, I'm pretty spread out between all the consoles. You know, I'm a huge baller apparently because I've had every console in each of the last couple of generations. So I'm lucky enough to be able to do that. My son is a bigger PlayStation fan, so the PlayStation lives upstairs in our loft where he spends most of his time. And the Xbox One is down here on the living room TV where I play it more often. And sometimes after I go to bed, he'll play Xbox, or if he's sleeping late on the weekend, I might play with the PlayStation, but it's pretty divided that way. We each have our own Switch. We just have different interests, and I didn't want greasy teenage fingerprints on mine. So we got him one for Christmas last year.
Smart.
I don't know. I don't have that many Switch games, but really there aren't that many AAA Switch games. And I'm just not quite as interested in all the shovelware and the $3 games and all that stuff. I'm an old man with limited time to play video games, so usually I'm only playing the big titles from the big series, the new Mario, the new Zelda, the new God of War, that kind of thing. I got it pretty spread out. The only thing I don't do is PC gaming because I just don't have the money or time to continuously upgrade a PC.
You mean you don't want to drop like $3,000 every couple of years or whatever it's going to take?
No, it's insane. Every console generation is like, oh, all you console suckers are going to have to drop $600 on a PS5. Like, well, I could wait 8 months or so and probably get one for $500. But to run the latest PC game, it's going to chug along and look like shit unless you have the latest graphics card that's water cooled, and to get that, you're going to have to upgrade your motherboard, your primary chipset. It's just not cutting it anymore. It's 18 months old. You might as well put your beer on top of it. It's insanity. A decent graphics card, you're looking at like $700-800, especially now that the Bitcoin miners just snap them up for the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's what always cracks me up is that price point of the graphics card and how quickly that goes. Like, it just, it's like, okay, enjoy your 4K, whatever, but in two more games, you're going to be irrelevant and you can't even run it. So, okay, do what you got to do. But
an old IT buddy of mine, speaking of Bitcoin mining, like back in 2011, I was like, what are you doing with all these computers when I went over his house? And he's like, oh, I'm farming bits. I'm like, what the fuck are bits? He's like, oh, it's online money. It's going to take off. I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. So he had like a whole server, like a couple servers going of like all these different PCs that he was just using to bit and churn. So I haven't heard from him in a few years, so I'm assuming he bought an island at this point. Yeah, hopefully he held on to that shit.
I hope so. The first time I heard about Bitcoin, I actually had a chance to buy some. Somebody was selling $100 worth at ITT Tech, where I was going to school 12 years ago, or 13 years ago. And I didn't have $100. And I was like, well, I can't afford to gamble $100. At the Bitcoin peak, it would have been worth like $300,000.
But you know what? For every single Bitcoin, there's a million other ones where you do spend that money. You never see it. It's like, nobody ever could have hope that kind of bubble bursts. And I think even recently in the past month or two, it had a little spike, like, because it hit that like almost 19K mark, and then it's dipped down back to like 9 or 8, and then it spiked. Like, it's never going to hit that real surge like it did before. So everyone's now hoping like, I'll get the next one, or I'll get this. And
no, there is no next one. Too many people know about it now. The last one was people became exposed to it. It became more mainstream, and investors wanted to start buying it up. And by investors, I mean people, the same kind of people that bought Beanie Babies back in the 90s, thinking that they were going to send their kids to college on Beanie Baby money. It hyperinflated the price. A bunch of those people lost their shirt. And folks that had been sitting on Bitcoin for several years, hopefully cashed out and didn't get hosed.
I hope.
And they didn't sit there and wait like, oh man, I could profit $750,000 right now, but what if tomorrow it's $750,001? And then they just fucking lost all their money,
Yeah, Jim is a collector from heart, but I mean, at least he doesn't collect for the wrong purposes. And not to judge anyone, but if you're trying to collect for your future savings, it's like,
no,
just
fuck the scalpers, fuck the graders. We can say it. We don't have to be nice about it.
Yeah, to hell with those people. They're just taking away from the enjoyment of people that want to display things in their houses and haven't, because it brings you a moment of happiness to see that thing. And I'm not going to dump on anybody. I still collect Transformers, more than meets the eye. I got shelf after shelf of them in my room upstairs. And I just love them. My whole family loves them. Me and my wife and kid, we all like them. I have too much money tied up in them, but I have no illusions that they're ever going to resell, ever. I take them out of the box. I screw with them because it's fun.
Right.
I'm collecting them for my enjoyment. The people out there that have an Optimus Prime from 1986 with the rare variant that accidentally had 2 left hands and it's still mint in the box and it's sealed in a bank vault somewhere. Dude, why don't you just buy silver certificates or
That's
Apple
my point.
stock or something, you fucking weirdo?
That's what I hate. I like the idea of a shelf collector for just like that is your investment. That's where I'm like, people get legit enjoyment out of this stuff. And if you're someone, even if you're a shelf collector and maybe you are getting enjoyment, but if you're looking at it purely as a monetary thing, that's the only thing that pisses me off. And especially with games that are rare that people would love to actually play or something like that. It's like, come on.
Yeah,
man.
if it's just a money thing, buy corporate bonds. Microsoft ain't going to run out of stock. You'll always be able to buy more.
Yeah.
But you know what they don't have very many of? Copies of the original Mario RPG on cartridges that actually work and have functioning batteries.
Yeah, exactly. But no, there's always them dicks. And speaking of that, like when we asked you about the PS5 or the new Xbox, now digitally you deal with the bullshit with the bots that buy up the shit when they do the midnight release, and we know Black Friday's coming, and it's almost useless. Like, would I get something that's on sale? Sure. But I know the second I click on my website, everything's going to be sold out because people are hacking to sell it to just resell it and just rob joy from people. Like, it's, I don't know, that type of shit. I mean, I understand it's just greed, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, man, you're just dicks for doing that.
Yeah, I firmly believe that every retailer, and I know you can't have this level of cooperation amongst competitive retailers, and I probably don't want big brother corporations looking at me this much, but I just wish there was some way that we could limit it to 1 per shipping address. Definitely can't buy 6 all from Amazon. You can only buy 1, but if you bought 1 from Amazon, you can't buy 1 from Best Buy. You can't buy 1 from, I was going to say Circuit City because I'm old and fucking existed for 10 years. But you can't buy 1 from anywhere else. But no, that's obviously not the case. You can just
that would
have
make too much sense.
You can just have different email addresses, even if there are limits, and have different logins, and buy as many of these things as you want. And then morons will pay $1,200 for them on eBay.
Well, I think the best example we saw what was that asshole? Where was he from? The guy at the beginning of COVID who like stockpiled toilet paper and stuff. And didn't they give him an order to like something happened?
Oh, the Texas guy. Yeah. He basically churned out all of Amazon's stock in his garage, and then like the police came and like, motherfucker, you gotta like,
Yeah.
we're taking this.
He had tens of thousands of dollars worth of hand sanitizer, and he was trying, and he was going to make like 1,000% profit. But hoarding physical necessary goods like that during an emergency is illegal. That's a law that's been on the books since like the Civil War. And so they were able to come in and be like, hey, you're basically war profiteering.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's illegal. So we're seizing all your hand sanitizer and giving it to the poor. We're Robin Hooding your ass, and you're at $10,000 that you paid for it or whatever.
You know you're a dickhead when you make the government be Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the cops are kicking in your door and they're the good guy, you're like, oh man, what a hard left turn we made in 2020.
It's been a weird year.
Police seizing your property, you're the good guy, and then oh man, that didn't last.
Exactly. But that's like a perfect example. Like, man, everyone looks for his opportunities, and it's just you ain't never gonna fix it. That's the human condition, unfortunately. There's that famine mentality. Like, God forbid anyone else is doing okay too, then I must be doing bad. So
that's the reason every store is out of toilet paper again.
Yep.
You're like, for God's sake, buy enough for you to use for a week. Everybody in the world could do that, and we'd have enough. But one jackass fills up 3 shopping carts with toilet paper, and then some panicky moron behind him sees it, so he does it, and then all of a sudden it only takes like 3 of those people before the whole store is out.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a celebrated shitter. I shit a lot. And even when I could finally get some goddamn toilet paper, like, of course I stocked up because I was like, when am I going to get this again? And even then, with my friggin' ass schedule, I still have tons of more than I'll ever need left. Like, these people need to calm down with this shit.
Yeah, I just wish that that we had more plumbers available, because I would have bought stock in bidets. It seems like they would.
Dude.
They would gone ape
the
shit.
thing that they really sold out on, and the big thing that got a push was they're not even a full set bidets. They're the ones that you can buy and easily hook up to either your sink or something, or like you could do it yourself. You don't need to be a plumber. I'm like, just do that. Like, get stock in that. Do something else.
I got one of those, and I haven't hooked it up yet because I'm on the second floor. My bathroom's on the second floor of my house, and it takes like 2 or 3 minutes running the sink at full blast to get hot water up there from the basement.
Yeah.
I don't feel like getting blasted with ice water right in my asshole.
And the cheap ones aren't warming it for you either.
No.
That's off one line, and that's the cold line.
Yeah, I can install it on it has 2 taps. You can blend hot and cold water and customize the temperature. But for the first several minutes, and even my ass does not take several minutes to clean, the first several minutes is going to be frigid mountain spring water, like they make craft beer out of.
That's a great thing to wake you up in the morning, though.
Yeah, well, it's going to wake up my neighbors too, because I'm going to yowl like I just got bit in the dick every single time.
Silver lining, the wife won't be complaining about you taking your little break shits and taking too long in there, because you're not going to be sitting there for pleasure anymore.
No, she still will. It only hurts at the end.
Well, you are a father. We all know that trick.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Actually, how old is your kid, if you don't mind asking?
He just turned 17.
Wow.
So he's the only one I got. He's he would have got his driver's license this year, but it's COVID and there's nowhere to go and nothing to do, so he just hasn't. He can't take driver's ed right now because you got to get in the car with a stranger to take driver's ed, and you can't do that in the middle of COVID. So, whatever.
And we've all been 17, so I can only imagine he's probably just a pure joy being locked indoors all day.
Oh yeah, he's a COVID hero. He is like a model citizen now. He went from being a social outcast, one of these otaku kids, to in 1 year, it's like everybody should be more like this kid. Just bravely sitting on the easy chair upstairs all day, so long that it makes a peeling sound when he gets up to go take a piss.
It's funny, last year when the Joker movie came out, everyone was doing the meme of gamers are rising up, but it actually fucking happened this year. It's like, oh, we're not supposed to leave? Well, I've been training my whole life for this.
Yeah, all it took was a cause that requires me to not take to the streets.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, is that affecting... Is he a senior already, or is he a junior?
He's a junior. He's got a late in the year birthday, October birthday, so he's like the oldest kid in class.
See, I was actually the opposite. I'm October 2, and I was kept behind, so I was the youngest by a long shot in every class.
Yeah, I was the second youngest from our graduating class.
Yep.
I was born 3 days before the cutoff or whatever for kindergarten.
Yep.
So when anybody younger than me, except like 2 kids that had skipped a grade. But he's the old kid.
Yeah, I was the opposite side of that bitch because when I turned 21, I was the oldest out of like all of our friends. So no one else could go to the fucking bar with me. So I just like kind of sat there with my roommate and his girlfriend watching Discovery Channel, like drinking like a 6-pack. And I was like, happy birthday. This is that banger I was always expecting my whole life.
Yeah, but you know what? At least you didn't have to grow up, Jim, during these times. Because imagine being 21 during COVID. And you really can't do shit.
Dude, those guys got fucked. At least for both of us. Well, I mean, your son's in junior, but at least like our kids are so young, like they're not getting affected by the whole school thing. And at least with your kid, I guess, is he enjoying? I'm assuming he's enjoying being home for more of the classes, or is that just like a whole weird, like, why bother?
Yeah, well, they were doing blended in-person and online class where you go every other day. Half the kids go today, half the kids go tomorrow, and they switch. He goes to the largest high school in Southern Illinois. It's really, really, really big high school. So they split the kids in half, and then when COVID rates started going up just yesterday, or no, I guess today. Today's Monday as we're recording this. Just today was their first day of full remote learning again. So they've gone back to all remote, and they say like, "Oh, we hope to be back to in person in January." Yeah, bullshit. They're not going to be.
No.
This ain't going to get any better before January.
So how many times have you been sitting there on your Switch and all of a sudden you see his name pop out in the top left corner when it's supposed to be school time?
No, we're not friends on Switch. He's
smart kid.
That's also great for you because I thought about that. And the only thing I thought was weirder when the kids would add their parents, why would you want to add your kid to that stuff? Like, you kind of want that separation. Like, you don't need to monitor him all the time.
What's the benefit? So he can beat my ass at Smash Brothers and I can feel bad about myself?
Right.
If I need to check on his behavior, I'll just go knock on his door. It's like 20 feet away.
Yeah. What did you have that moment as he was growing up, like if you guys played games together where he finally was able to start beating you and you realized, oh, shit. Like, I can no longer be better, or I'm not letting him win.
It's most games have not been split screen, for a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
So I didn't have to suffer through that. Like, I used to be out of my friend group by far the best at Halo. Mm-hmm. Online, I was fair to middling. I'd do okay. Yeah. But when we'd have like LAN parties and hook all our Xboxes together, which is what we did, kids, back in the day before all you child listeners out there. That's what we used to have to do before you could play on them internets. You'd have to hook up a bunch of Xboxes together, have a bunch of TVs in every room of somebody's house. I'd just beat the shit out of every single one of them every time. And Logan, my boy, he was like 6. So, of course, I'd beat him even when I first started allowing him to play. Well, then the split screen kind of faded away, and I can't play online with my own son in my own house because I don't have 2 Xboxes hooked up to the internet. So he just gradually would get better and better. And every night when I go up to bed, he's usually playing video games up in the loft. And I'll stop and I'll be like, "What's up, buddy? What are you playing tonight?" And I'm like, "Oh, Destiny," or, play Halo 5 or whatever. And I look, and he's just so much damn better than me. And I'm just like, "Hey, you really should reload before you go into that room." Pro tip. Old awesome gamer like me.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever, Dad.
It's like the only chance you have is if there's just a really infamously hard like NES game. Like, you know what? Why don't you try Ghosts and Goblins and see if you can beat that shit?
Oh, yeah. If I could bust out some Castlevania on him, then we'd see who's boss.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no saving here, fucker.
Hey, kid, we're going to play Ninja Gaiden. Oh, you mean that really, really old game for the Xbox? No.
No, motherfucker.
No, you
the
little
other
bastard. I mean, the really, 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 really old game that was based on for the NES. You have to make blind jumps where you can't change your direction in midair, and you can get one-shotted by every fucking enemy.
Mm-hmm. He just talks back to you like, "Go to your room. I'm in my room. Shut up."
Take your Metamucil, old man.
Oh God, yeah, that's the fear growing up. One day it happens with everything with the kids, and one day the games there's gonna be better.
Yep, I'm still a lot larger and stronger than he is, though. Thank God.
Yeah, that shit'll fade too one day, and
Yes, it will.
unfortunately, you'll be like, oh no.
He will be probably 2 or 3 inches taller than me by the time he's done growing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing for me. He never does anything. Otherwise, he'd probably be stronger than me already.
All of a sudden, you go up, he's doing like jailhouse push-ups. You're like, "What are you doing? Stop!"
Yeah. Fortunately, he still remembers the days when, like, I took martial arts and I could actually beat people up. He thinks it's still me. I think in the back of his mind, maybe he knows better. But it's kind of like when you get a baby elephant at the circus, you tie it up with super big chains. So then by the time it's a big giant elephant, you can tie it up with kite string, and it's like, oh, it's defeated.
Yep.
I showed him what was up when he was 4, and now he believes I'm just telling this forever. It could work. I'm still terrified to death of my dad, and he weighs like 160 pounds, and he's blind in one eye and has an artificial heart valve.
Yeah, mine doesn't have any knees left, and I'm still just like, oh, well, that is dad.
Yeah, no, there was always that thing, and I was someone with my dad. He used to say to me and my brother, we outgrew him for like right at high school, but he used to say, he's like, I don't care how big you are. He's like, I'll take a bat to you if you try and come back. So there was always that, like, it wasn't like he was like a yeller or anything, but I was always intimidated. It doesn't matter how much bigger or how whatever. Yeah, there's always that, okay, that's dad. I can't mess with that.
I'm old school enough to believe that everybody should be a little bit intimidated by their dad.
Uh-huh.
You should be able to go to them with issues and talk to them honestly and whatever, but you should also respect them and know that if they wanted to, they could smash your face in.
Exactly. And especially being boys, I think we have that advantage of definitely worrying about it. I think girls, always a different relationship. Boys, yeah, Jim, you're screwed. You have no power.
Yeah, you at least have a boy and a girl. I just have a daughter, so.
Yeah. No, my boy, he's already on track to be significantly bigger than me. And I just said, I'm going to get back to jiu-jitsu and be able to, I don't care if you're bigger than me. I'll choke your ass out. I'll do something.
Jiu-jitsu is good for that. It's a great equalizer. Me and my friends, we did Taekwondo, which is great. It's one of the best fitness martial arts there is.
Oh, yeah.
It is a little tough on the joints, but it's, you can do it with very little contact. But as far as like street self-defense, a good instructor is never going to lie to you and say like, oh, yeah, you're going to dominate the bar fight with your traditional, striking martial arts. Like, no, real instructors know better than that. So if you do go and take martial arts, which I recommend that anybody who's interested does, and your instructor tells you you're going to be like the ultimate badass, guess what? You're not.
No.
You're at the wrong school.
Yeah, Taekwondo, like, yeah, I've trained in a bunch of different
reputable.
I've done a bunch of different martial arts, and Taekwondo is one of those, like you're saying, it gets you in great shape, but you're never going to whip out a tornado kick in the middle of a bar. Like, you're never going to get your side stance up. You're just like, it's always going to end up, you grapple, you fall on the ground. Maybe you get a few shots in standing up, but jiu-jitsu is that one where that's the equalizer. It's like, if you know what you're doing once you go to the ground, it doesn't matter how big the guy is. So, yeah, I always recommend that to everyone.
Yeah, we always had a blended approach. We had like your traditional doing forms, and in karate you'd call them kata, but you would do your forms and you would learn your positions, you'd learn your strikes, and then you would do a cardio, and then some days you would do self-defense. But self-defense was never like jump spinning back kick or a back leg hook to the head. Self-defense was like, guard the face, parry, counter strike, run away.
Yeah.
And bring in some Hapkido, which is another Korean martial arts. Since Taekwondo is Korean, my instructor liked Hapkido. Some light grappling and escape. It wasn't about beating up guys.
Yep. Yeah. No, I think I think if you're teaching kids self-defense, Krav Maga, Jiu-Jitsu, those things are the things that help you really avoid the more intimate. I think karate, Taekwondo is traditional martial arts. Those are They can be useful if you can pull them off, but they're just, they're not as legit depending on how many street fights you've been in. You recognize shit gets messy really, really quick, and it all goes out the window really fast. So I'm a strong believer.
If you ever have to defend yourself, if you have to defend yourself in the real world, first I feel bad for you because that's unfortunate that you have to do that. But if you do, just remember that if you can't fight on the ground, you can't fight. That's just all there is to it. Once your opponent, even if he's smaller and weaker than you, gets you on the ground, if you don't know what to do, you're just getting rained down on.
Yep. Yeah. I definitely know that very well. So
I just remember when Bri used to think he could retard strength his way through with like the few competitions he did, and then he learned real fast. Like it's like, oh, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Well, the difference there, Jim, was also I foolishly decided, I was like, let me go into the open weight competition, and I weighed 205 and I went against a guy that was 280 all muscle, and I was like, oh, this is going to be real bad. And he actually knew what he was doing, and I was like, yeah, this was a terrible decision. I should have went in the weight class below me, but I didn't quite make that weight, so that was no good.
If you have the most perfect, the cleanest technique in the world, and you're fighting a bigger, stronger opponent who doesn't know anything, you could probably win.
Yeah.
But if you're fighting somebody who knows anything and they outclass you in areas like speed and strength, well, sorry, you're hosed.
Yeah, the guy I was going against, he was much bigger than me, and then afterwards I talked to him, and it turned out he was like a blue belt or something, and I was not even considered a white belt at the time. I was like, God damn it. I was like, why are you in this tournament? He's like, it's basically, that's the racket. You got to get an X number of wins, an X number of tournaments to qualify for other things. I was like, oh, that sucks, because it was no gi, it was all this stuff, but you live and you learn. It was definitely a learning experience for me.
All right, so we're going to move on to Patreon questions. Patreon.com/DrinkABeerandPlayAGame, where for as little as $2 a month, you can ask a question that we will answer on each and every single episode of this Power Hour podcast. First up comes from Alex Perez. Did you guys enjoy reading any particular video game magazines when you were younger?
What was the other one outside of Game Informer?
EGM?
I think that was the one. I'm very weird, though. The thing I enjoyed reading the most were just getting the game guides. I know that's not a game magazine, but if I found it, especially for a game I liked, I love reading the little snippets about additional stuff for the game. But I was never a big game magazine guy, honestly, until Game Informer, where I really got into it. Outside of that, I never had the luxury of getting, the Nintendo Power, and outside of that, I didn't really know many gaming magazines. So,
yeah, the kid across the street got Nintendo Power, and that's how we were able to get through the Lost Woods in Super Mario World. But other than that, it was, I think it was called the Chocolate Forest. But other than that, it's like, what? I was never subscribed to any. I didn't have the disposable income for that. If I was going to spend money on something video game related, it was either going to be a new game or at least renting one from Blockbuster, which was like the weekend jam if you mowed enough lawns.
Exactly.
Yeah, my neighbor was the one who had the EGM, so I'd always read his. My parents were like, you have enough games, and that was, Christ, that's like maybe a tenth of the collection, not even that I have now. And even back then, they were like, you have too much of this shit. So they were not spending the money on video game magazines for me.
Yeah. No, but that is something I feel like our generation would have been the one. Next generation, there's going to be no game magazines, especially hard print. Like, everyone's only going to do digital because really, unless you're a diehard collector, what's the point?
Yeah, what do you call it? I mean, even my Game Informers, I used to get them in the mail all the time, but even like I started reading them less and less, and I still sign up for the GameStop rewards every year, and they're like, oh, how do you want your magazine? I'm like, just email it to me. So I can just delete it. I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah, I very rarely even open up the digital Game Informer. And even when the print editions were coming, I was looking like, all right, let's see if there's a couple of good jokes up front and what score did they give this release, and not even really reading the whole review unless it's something I was really into. And it was just kind of somebody mailing me something and be like, hey, could you put this in the trash for me? Thanks.
Yeah. Once the article started to get like 2 months behind, I was like, yeah, all right, I think I'm about done with this.
I mean, I guess that's the way of most print, though. I mean, shit, even Playboy couldn't compete anymore and all those. Like, there just comes a point when digital took over print altogether.
They took out the titties. They did it to themselves. They deserved it.
Well, I mean, unless Playboy and Hustler can start doing like Harry Potter photographs that move and shit, they don't have a chance.
That would be pretty impressive.
Yeah, all the big ones: the Harry Potter, Marvel, and Star Wars. There we go. Just base it around the culture, and then you can draw some new people back in.
Yeah, like in Harry Potter, the photos
actually moved. Yeah, no, you need to open up the actual physical print and have like almost a video hologram within. Yeah, if you open that up and it's like a 3D augmented whatever, you might buy those.
Higher quality paintings in Harry Potter are even alive. So I guarantee you somebody in the Harry Potter universe has a full-size nude painting of Piper Perry. And they talk to it every night, and it's just as creepy as you're imagining it.
Yep. Listen, Jim, that one goddamn thing you shared on Twitter or wherever I saw, where
what
was it in Japan where the guys are buying the hands that simulate someone holding your hand as you
horrifying
walk?
Yep. Yes. Well, bro, do you have to ask if it's Japan? If it's something weird and it's something.
The question was, did you share it?
I'm sure I did.
I know it's almost always you, but I have to double check. But that's something. If somebody's willing to buy it, yeah, they're gonna buy anything that's higher quality.
It's just one step closer to having your waifu in real life. So,
damn it, Jim.
You can really argue at that point, Bri.
Everyone can argue, Jim.
Yeah, it's true. But no, good question. Next
Thank
up,
you, Alex.
From Kevin Caldwell. How do games create fear, horror, joy, excitement, or other specific emotions? Which game or games have caused you to experience the most of these?
Well, the biggest element, and I'm not a professional writer or anything, but you have to identify with the character and the situation that's going on. So there's a couple ways to go about that. There's the silent protagonist, which is like the hallmark of Legend of Zelda, where Link never says anything because you need to insert yourself into that character and be that character. And then there's the more narrative-driven method, where your character has a story and you're helping to drive it. And that can go so far as even into like the Mass Effect universe, where you're making dialogue choices that it turns out they don't really matter that much, but you have input into the universe. It makes you feel like you're a part of it. So if you don't feel connected to it, and if you don't identify with the characters, no matter how insane or weird their situation is, it's not going to work. Imagine watching Alien if you didn't like Ripley. If Ripley was just annoying and stupid and you hated her. Well, it wouldn't be very scary because you wouldn't care if she got her damn head bitten off. So you have to create that connection with the characters. And if you do that, then the consequences that happen to them naturally are going to affect you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think that's one of the things that drive you emotionally the most. I think horror games are a little easier. You do the same tropes that horror movies do. You get your jump scares, get your loud noises, and you just create a situation where you do feel helpless, which, as I've said, one of the reasons why I love the early Resident Evils and Resident Evil 4, I felt like it was such a pivot because I never felt helpless in Resident Evil 4. I felt like I had plenty of weapons, whatever. Earlier Resident Evils, I was like, shit, I have like 2 bullets left. I really have to avoid this enemy. So creating that feeling of like, I can't do anything. And a lot of modern games have handled that by saying like, you don't even have a weapon against people. You have a flashlight and just run your ass away from them. But the feeling of happy, I almost feel like that's exclusively handled by music, or music and visual, but really it's music, because even in the games that, Jim, I know a few games you've mentioned before through Wii and a few other consoles that made you feel happy, it's really because they were brightly colored and had joyful, like kind of playful music. The game itself is still like the same mechanics as every platformer and everything out there, but the really only way that I think to convey that is like upbeat, happy, catchy music.
Well, Bri, if you want to have some narrative-driven happiness at the end, you should play Flower. Because once you start to bring the world back from the brink of darkness,
Jim,
you feel that accomplishment. Bride, play flower, goddammit.
I'm not going to watch a flower grow from a seed to a petal. No, I'm not doing that.
It's beautiful.
I don't have time for that, Jim.
It's only 2 hours.
That's 2 hours too much. But no, I mean, to Ken's point, like any good game, just like a movie, like the only reason a movie becomes great is because you can somehow connect with the character. They spend the time, you care about them, you care the consequences of them. And if they put you in a situation where you're truly playing it, which is what a lot of great RPGs do, because especially when you create the character from the get-go, like that's you. You've put your time and effort into creating this person and making decisions for them. And to know that your decisions have consequences gives you a deeper feeling of either like, Fallout 3, I always go to, Megaton. If you decide to set off the nuke and kill everyone, you felt like a complete asshole. Or you saved them all and it gave you a different feeling. So there are ways to do that.
Yeah, for sure. No, good question. Next up, from Gamer Astral, will any of you guys jump onto one of the next-gen consoles anytime soon? If so, which of you or which one are you the most interested in?
I mean, I feel like we answered that earlier. I think we're all in agreement. We're going to wait till it's cheaper. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I probably, if it goes anything like this past gen, I think PS5 is going to have better exclusives than the Xbox. But with Xbox buying Bethesda, that has some of my favorite game series. So I don't know. Like, I'm going to wait to see how that all shakes out. It's really going to come down to what's exclusive and when the price point is right. What about you, Ken?
I'm on the same page there. It's I got to see games start to come out. Hardware just does not raise the flag for me. It does nothing for me. Especially a package deal like a console, because you can't even brag, be like, oh man, I got the latest, greatest PlayStation 5. Well, guess what? I got the exact same fucking PlayStation 5. It's not the same as like PC gamers who can talk specs all day until they both ejaculate.
And they do. We know they do.
Oh God, they do. So I'm waiting for like the killer app to come along. Like I say, if they announce a sequel I know they've already announced the sequel. They announced a release date for Horizon Zero Dawn 2 tomorrow. Then I'm like, oh shit, I got to pick one of these things up.
Exactly. What about you, Jim? Is there any? I mean, you've been talking for a while and claiming you're definitely getting the PS5 no matter what.
Eventually, when I do get a new console from this generation, it'll probably be the PS5. Just because, like I said, it's looking like that's going to be the one that has actual games that you're not going to get anywhere else. That's the big thing. Like, if I can do Game Pass on a computer or something like that, then there's no real point in doing anything else. Or if I can eventually maybe put it on a Stadia.
Stop trying to show off that free shit you got for being a YouTube Premium.
Right. I'm part of the revolution. But no, I mean, yeah, like Xbox just isn't, like, I always like the Xbox multiplayer experience more, but yeah, if it doesn't have the games behind it, there's no real point. So it'll be PlayStation, but eventually, because I didn't have a PS4 either, so I'll be using my PS5 to hit some of the main titles. Like Horizon Zero Dawn's like the game from last gen that I completely missed out on and that I want to play the most. That's like the biggest missing thing for me.
Yep, it was, and it's. I know, Ken, you're definitely a Zelda fan, but to me, that game was way better than Breath of the Wild.
Horizon Zero Dawn, yeah. They were very different experiences to me. I mean, definitely there's room for them both. If I just had to give them both like a number, and then I might rank Horizon a little higher. For me personally, Breath of the Wild was higher because I have such a connection to the Zelda series. But trying to be more objective about it, I think Horizon was a bigger accomplishment or just a better crafted experience.
Yeah, that game was. Whew. So, Jim, we'll take that money to the bank when you decide to go out and buy some other obscure random console and you give an excuse why you don't buy PS5. You
right,
get like a Vectrex. You'll be like, hey, Brian, look, I got this random console that I got the Virtual Boy.
I got to get another Intellivision.
Yeah.
That is one of the original ones that I'm missing.
That was our first gaming console in my house when I was a kid. My grandfather, God rest him, I love my grandfather so much. The original Ken Bone, the guy I grew the mustache for, he loved fucking Intellivision. He played the Burger Time, the Intellivision version of Burger Time one time for 40 hours straight.
Holy shit.
The dude was a legendary stoner. And he got super high. We didn't see him eat. We didn't see him drink. We didn't see him go to the bathroom for 40 hours, just Burger Time. He was incredible at it.
Dude,
That's a
fucking
gamer
king.
right there.
Dude, how is his like his thumb's not falling off of that fucking circle pad and the joist like that? Like I have a ColecoVision and that's rough, but the Intellivision blows that away with fucking shit.
I don't know how he even worked the number pad. The guy had hands the size of like Christmas hams. You know, he was a steel worker, had big beefy fingers. It seems like he would have needed a pencil to hit those little buttons, but he did it.
He made it work. Now, Jim, wait, what is it you just got Burger Time for?
I actually did just get it for the Intellivision, which I don't even own, but it was $5 in the box. So I went, okay.
Nice.
Damn. So wait, Ken, you said that was for your grandfather. Was your dad also Ken? Are you Ken third?
No.
Ken the 12th?
Well, me and my grandfather have different middle names. There's like 5 Ken Bones in the family, but my dad's name is Darren.
Okay.
So I guess you could call me Skip, since that's what like Skip is you're named after your grandfather. Except that's dumb and I hate it, so nobody calls me that.
Until now.
Yeah. I mean, they can if they want. I just won't answer to it. And if you call your dog Charlie, don't be surprised when he doesn't answer.
It's true. But like to be fair with Burger Time, that's always the one that's like like most fucking pre-NES games don't fetch any kind of value at all, but Burger Time seems to be the Coleco version one, card only is like a $30 game for whatever reason. Wow. So if you see a cheap Burger Time from pre-NES, pick it up because even if you have no interest in it, you still could probably flip it for a little bit.
Jim, remember what we talked about earlier in this podcast about assholes who just buy games to sell them later when other
I am
people
not
could
selling
actually
shit.
play
You
it?
know I don't sell.
I know, but you're never going to own a television.
I might. If I get the right deal.
So otherwise, you're just some poor soul out there. It's like, man, I got my Intellivision. All I want is Burger Time. But there's some fucker out there who's just holding on to it.
Look, Brian, I'll just wait for Facebook Marketplace for some guy who needs $20 because of the coof. So I'll strike when those kettle's hot.
Well, I think they did do a kind of like the SNES Classic and the NES Classic. They did the Intellivision Lives, the package console. It has like 20 or 30 games on it.
Yep.
I think that might have Burger Time on it. So if people just want to enjoy the frustrating experience of playing with a circle touch pad and a 10-digit number pad, like seriously, the controller looks like an old touch-tone telephone, and that's how you control it. If you want to do that, that option is available to you. But I would say don't punish yourself because it's real fucking hard.
Yeah, it is. Dude, like when they announced the PS5 and people were looking at the new DualSense controller, they're like, I don't know, it looks uncomfortable. And I just see that shit and I go, you fucking spoiled little bastards.
Yep.
You don't know.
Don't know what uncomfortable is.
You didn't grow up with third-party Genesis controllers like I did. Fucking holding things this goddamn wide.
Oh, yeah.
God, for God's sakes, Jim's such a battered kid. He still thinks N64 is a good controller.
N64 controller is why my natural wrist resting position is like this. Holding the controller. Was there a single game in the history of the N64 that actually required you to hold the left handle for any amount of time? No, of course not. You
Nope.
just had to make your
No,
thumb
the wrestling games? God damn it, the wrestling games did.
Well, shame on them.
Yeah. Stupid design, Jim.
How dare you, they're perfect.
But no, great question, though. I like that. Thank you, bud.
Yep. Next up, from G to the Next Level. The Animaniacs reboot is starting soon, and Tiny Toon Adventures reboot is in the works. Are there any cartoons from your childhood that you would really like to see make a comeback? I'm still sad that the SWAT Cats reboot never really took off. Cheers.
SWAT Cats was dope. I love that show.
Fucking great.
It was on the local, like, it wasn't public access, but it was like owned by the like a church in the St. Louis area. They would play. They had SWAT Cats, and they had like the guy that ran the homeless mission. He did a lot of programming and stuff. So he was just trying to put kid-friendly stuff that wasn't like, I don't know, terribly mind-rotting. So
Yeah.
he would run SWAT Cats.
That's
I
awesome.
like SWAT Cats a bunch.
Dude, 2 of the best theme songs ever. Only 2 seasons, and each theme was a banger.
Oh yeah, the Radical Squadron.
Goddamn
It was
right.
a squadron. It was one airplane, but it was the Radical Squadron.
Well, with that plane, that's all you needed.
Yeah, and they had diamond tip missiles in one episode. I kept wondering, like, how do these two cats make enough money from selling scrap metal to buy JP5 to run their fucking airplane and diamonds to tip their missions? But
They
they
flew
still
at the
did
speed
it.
They flew at the speed of heat. That doesn't even make sense. But
Yeah,
you're like, hey, you know what? I can go with it.
Somehow they shot gigantic kaiju that would ravage their town every week and could be beaten by an airplane. It was amazing.
Uh-huh. I just loved how the basic cops also had jet planes, but they were just completely useless.
Yeah, I mean, that St. Louis PD has an F-15 now. They just suck at flying it.
Yeah, I mean, cartoons is tough because we've talked so much about it. From when I was really young, the real Ghostbusters is, for whatever reason, that's what it's called now. I love that cartoon. But a little bit older, it's all games that we've had, like the X-Men, and all those. So I can't really say I want a specific video game or see them to be rebooted because they probably won't. One I would just love to see them have the balls to do is Ren and Stimpy, because I rewatched some of those, and dear God, like everything went completely over my head of what was actually going on in that cartoon, and to see that shit released today, whew, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, I remember Ren and Stimpy. My mother one day had watched Ren and Stimpy. She was like, "Hey, you'll love this show." And it's kind of like it's like Itchy and Scratchy from The Simpsons. You'll think it's really funny. I was like 9. So I watched it, and she caught me watching it and grounded me. I was like, what the fuck? It was your idea. That's entrapment. I should get a lawyer.
Son of a bitch.
Oh, man. I remember watching Beavis and Butthead and coming downstairs and saying, damn. And my mom was just like, what the hell did you just say? It was if I called her a C word, basically. Like, that was the level that I was dealing with there.
I don't know. Experimentation might not bear that out. Give it a shot and see if it's equivalent.
Yeah. Next time you see her.
Hey, Ma!
What about you, Jim?
Back to the question. You know what fucking cartoon I want back? I don't even need it to come fully back. I just want them to finish it off.
Calm your tits.
I loved the Pirates of Darkwater, and it was only 2 seasons, and they never finished a story to it. So.
Oh, yeah. That show was dope, too. And I just remember watching it. Like, it was part of the Saturday morning cartoons back when that was a thing.
Yep.
It would play like one of the later time slots. So I'd catch it right before it was time to go out and play wiffle ball with my buddies before Soul Train came on. So that's when you knew the cartoons were over, when Soul Train came on.
Yep.
So I'd watch that, and every time it would restart at the first episode, you're like, oh, man, Mel, I guess they're still working on the next one. They weren't, though.
Nope.
They weren't working on the next one. It just died.
Never to be. That was such a goddamn... That was like the first like cartoon blue balling I ever got. It's like, oh, man, I really want to see how this turns out. Well, never going to happen, fucker.
They
Nah,
did it
good
on
question.
purpose, showing kids like what life is really like.
They just set you up for disappointment. They're just trying to give you a life lesson there.
I got really excited for this. Well, guess what? It's not happening, you dumb kid.
Yep.
Nah, good question. And last up from Burned Retinas. I feel like this may have been asked, but in the age of delays and a game becoming radically different from its beta stages and even post-release, do either of you believe demos are even important for being a litmus for games? Huh.
Demos...
Only if it comes out shortly before release, like as a way to try to get you to pick it up. I think the Resident Evil 2 remake did it like 2 or 3 weeks before release. They dropped the first 20 minutes. Age of Calamity, the Hyrule Warriors game, just released their demo a couple of weeks ago, and it was like the first story mission and a couple of side missions. So that's fine, trying to hook people. But yeah, I totally agree that if you release your demo now for, like, say it's Gears 6 and it doesn't come out till 2022, what's even the point? You're kind of misleading people. You're not on the Star Citizen level, but you're getting there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I think the only, when you said Resident Evil 2 Remake, I mean, all the Resident Evil games, a lot of them are doing these like short demos of the game to get you excited. But I think back to the original Resident Evil 2 when that demo was in Resident Evil Director's Cut and it was part of the – I forget how long before the game came out. I feel like it was over a year. But, man, I played that short-ass demo. I can't even tell you how many times got me excited. But if they change the game drastically, that worries me a little bit. And I'll be honest, I can't think of a lot of games off the top of my head that I know that I played a demo and it was so drastically different.
Well,
but
maybe like you said, RE 1.5. Like, thank God Cyberpunk didn't do a fucking demo in 2013 when they first announced it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of maybe what the questioner is getting at is like all these games that are in alpha and beta, and it's basically is a demo. You're in the long-term beta, like 7 Days to Die. I don't know if that's technically an alpha or a beta now. Well, guess what? By the time it's a fully released complete game, if it ever is, nobody's going to give a shit no more. Because it's already been like a huge Twitch game for a couple of years now. It's way on the other side of its downslope even, and it never made it out of technically development.
The only time I think these betas work, I've said multiple times, I'm a Patreon of Puppet Combo, who does horror games. They do them PS1 style. Really enjoy them. As they're developing the game, they'll release betas to just let their Patreons know, like, hey, we're working on the game. Here's an example. And it can change a little bit, but you're kind of like, not that you feel like you're part of the process, but I have seen them actually respond in real time to people who've said, hey, when I was playing the beta, I had this issue, and they fix it and make it better. You're never going to get that kind of collaboration with AAA developers.
Oh, totally. But you got to be real careful with that because there's a fine line between that and then the Star Citizen route of dumping hundreds of bucks into a game that may never even release. And every time they update the content, it's kind of the equivalent of the hostage taker mailing you a part of your kid's finger a little bit every time. Just like, here's some more proof of life. We're actually using your money. Now give us some more money.
That's definitely true. No, it is, as you're saying, very fine line. And luckily, it doesn't seem to be super common that you get a shitty beta or you get a beta that's so different. I think the worst example, though, still has to be Silent Hill PT, which never became a game, and yet that demo still gets ranked as like one of the best horror games ever when most people can't even ever play it again. So you get those weird situations for sure.
Yeah, at least we're not Yandere Dev. For anyone who knows what that is, you know what I mean.
Hate you, Jim.
Right, it's like a dating simulator kind of thing. You'd love it.
I hate you.
It was crowdfunded because that's what people need for that.
Need to hold hands that are fake, man.
Could have just downloaded a porno flash game from Newgrounds in 2003 like a gentleman. Come on now.
Match 3 game that slowly reveals a pixelated cartoon naked woman.
Goddamn right.
That's all Jim needs.
God, if only I could do this crossword puzzle fast enough, I might see almost a boob. Those were the days.
Who needs flash? I'm on shockwave, motherfucker.
Making sure nobody walks into the common, like the living room, which is where the computer was when you're
exactly
when you're in middle school. You're on there at 4 a.m. hoping your dad doesn't have to get up early for work and see you doing this shit.
Yep. Or thank God for noisy steps. Oh, thank you, God, for the noisy steps we had.
I'm just doing my homework, Dad. Why don't you have your pants on? It's early.
I'm just playing StarCraft. Now go away.
Jim.
Can anybody knock? It's the dining room. There's no door.
Shit.
Oh God, that's another reason why I'm glad our kids are growing up in an age where everyone has their own computer in their room.
Yeah, I don't have to get my computer locked up with untold viruses and spyware.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You just still keep around that 10-year-old computer for your torrenting, and that's it.
Yep.
No, but great question, bud. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yep, and that wraps up the Patreon questions for this week.
All right, so Jim, one of the things you put out here, it comes to us from whiskeyriff.com. This is a really weird goddamn beer, and Ken, we know we talked at the beginning, you're not huge into different types of craft beer, but This is a Waffle House bacon and kegs beer. It's a bacon-infused red ale. So, bacon flavor in your beer. Does that sound like anything that would interest you ever?
No, I mean, first off, they missed the mark by a couple years because bacon was the huge cultural phenomenon a couple years back.
Yep.
You know, it was. Now the cultural phenomenon is I hate Donald Trump or I hate AOC, depending on which team you're on. Before that, the cultural phenomenon was cupcakes, and then it was avocados, and then
Avocado. I was just gonna say.
the halcyon days of being a fans of something that weren't, cartoon caricatures of the leaders of our fucking country. But yeah, they missed the bacon train. Secondly, Waffle House is fucking gross. Waffle House is where you go when the Denny's is closed for fumigation. Also, bacon infused. You know what gives bacon its flavor? Is fat. So there's just bacon fat in your fucking beer. That sounds so gross. And fourth, the most controversial thing I've ever said, and I've got canceled on Twitter twice. I don't really like bacon that much. It's okay. But what the hell's the deal? I'm not going to say no to bacon, but I'm like, oh my God, I can't live in a world without bacon. Shut up.
Ken, that might be worse than you saying the L word during election season. What are you doing?
Oh yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about. But sure.
No,
I bet I did it.
That friggin' bacon craze. It's funny because my wife now, at the time like that came out, I like bacon. I'll put bacon on whatever. I think it's fine. But I was never someone that was like, oh my God, bacon. And she got me bacon soap. And I was like, why? And I used it 2 or 3 times. I was like, I don't want my hands to smell like goddamn bacon when I wash them. That's disgusting. But yeah, this is one of those things. I'm shocked. I looked up. There are other beers that have tried this before, not successfully. Waffle House. I know it's bigger in the South, and Jim and I have been there. Especially I feel like you never go to a Waffle House when there's not when it's not 2 a.m. and there's just the strippers are leaving the strip club at the night, and that's every experience we've had for every bachelor party we've ever been on. It's just been, as you said, Denny's is closed. It's not that good. You're just drunk eating whatever terrible shit you can. So maybe this does really huge in the South. I don't know. If I had the chance, would I try it? Sure, because it still sounds better than mustard beer, which I still don't know why that's a thing.
That's my one concession to health. The only one. I smoke cigars. I drink way too much. I am 100+ pounds overweight, but I don't drink energy drinks because that shit's bad for you.
Dude, it's awful for you.
We used to be hard in the energy on the Monster Market until our titties started shaking uncontrollably. So that's when we're like, okay.
That's always been my weight loss goal. Is I don't want to have to wear a bra to put pepper on my eggs.
Yeah, I've been there.
That's a thinker. It's a cerebral titty joke.
Even to your point about the fucking trash 4 a.m. food, the only time I was ever at a Waffle House, it was after a bachelor party, and literally, like you said, strippers were there after their shift, and they started fighting right at the bar section as we're over there just trying to hold on to dear life. So that's not the image I need when I want to drink my beer.
But Jim, don't deny if we can get it, we're gonna try it.
Well, of course we're gonna try it.
It is good product placement, alcohol plus Waffle House, because the only reason you go to Waffle House is to get greasy, high carb food to soak up the liquor that's already inside you.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So, what Jim and I have said many times whenever we see these novelty beers come out is I'm shocked more chain places haven't. I'm waiting to see the KFC gravy beer or the goddamn Arby's roast beef beer. You're gonna see some crazy shit, and I don't know what it's gonna be, but we saw it with mustard beer, we've seen crab beer, we're seeing bacon beer. Who knows what's gonna be next?
I just wish Burger King had Bud Select on draft. I'd have me a Bud Heavy and a Whopper and some onion rings. That sounds awesome.
It's a perfect meal right there.
Head over to Canada, and they always got good beers on tap while you go there to McDonald's and Burger King's and whatever. We're missing out on that here.
That sounds awesome.
Yep. Their damn poutine.
No matter who wins an election, I'm never going to move out of America. But if it means draft beer with my gross fast food, I'll make that move.
Right?
Different platform.
Go out, see some peelers, and then head over to Burger King and get drunk. It's perfect.
That's right. So yeah, Jim, good pickup on this, but I really hope we can somehow get our hands on that because I need to see how terrible that is.
Oh, for sure.
All right. So moving on.
Speaking of our buddies at Nintendo, who are so with the times in internet culture.
Why don't you explain this one, Jim? Because I don't need to say nothing because I've bashed these guys enough.
All right. So there was going to be a gaming event. It was going to be internet-based, and it was going to be a Smash tournament through a group called the Big House. And, of course, they were going to be playing Melee, which you can't do online, and you can only do online because of COVID and lockdowns and blah, 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 blah. So there's a mod out there called Slippy, and Nintendo being Nintendo just had to shut down the entire goddamn thing and say they couldn't broadcast nothing because it's using an illegal version of their game. Their 20-year-old game that they've never ported to any following system, that they don't make any money off of anymore. But no. Got to protect that IP.
Yeah, Nintendo really shocks me with this. I mean, because from a purely legal standpoint, I see where they're coming from. Like, hey, you're using unauthorized ROMs of our game for your own profit or your own, whatever. You can't be doing that. But like you mentioned, they have never re-released this game. I'm sure that the event organizers would say, like, hey, we'll play it on Switch if you'll actually get with the times and do some backwards compatibility or have a real virtual console for the Switch, which is what every Switch user has at the very top of their wish list for the console. But you can't. And what we're doing is giving you free advertising, keeping people interested in your product. I mean, Nintendo did the same thing with YouTube. Up until a couple of years ago, you couldn't even put like Let's Plays of Nintendo games on YouTube. Yeah. That's insanity. Let's Plays and Twitch are by far the biggest driver of video game sales out there. Like there's folks out there that have just shelf after shelf of free shit that Sony hurls at them with a catapult, trying to beg them into playing the newest edition of FIFA on their stream. And here's Nintendo saying, no, not only are we not going to enable you to do it or encourage you to do it, we're not going to allow you to do it. It really shows that they're a playing card company from the 1800s.
Yeah. And we've said, like, I mean, they obviously, their first party games have never stopped selling like hotcakes and they still hold the appeal. But if for some reason they took a dip in that, they don't have good fan service. They don't have good network for their multiplayer. They're just completely out of the times. And this shit just makes their image so much worse. And I truly don't understand what, like, I don't know. It makes no sense. Yes, as you pointed out, Ken, legally, can they do it? Sure. But should they do it? No. Is this the thing they really need to go after during this time? Like, these guys, like, do they really think they're going to lose out on money somehow by these guys holding this tournament? That's crazy.
Yeah, the bootleggers were getting really on me in the comment section that are all like, actually, Nintendo's well within their right to shut down this illegal. Like, shut the fuck up. Miyamoto's not going to come to your house and give you a hand job. Just let people play the fucking game.
Being well within your rights to do something and it being a good idea to do something are not the same thing, even remotely. Like, yeah, legally you can do that, but you turned a public relations and advertising absolute win into potential disaster.
Yeah.
You're taking a bunch of hardcore super fans of one of your core franchises and shitting on them.
What Nintendo seems to do best, unfortunately, and we've covered too many of these stories. Like you said, the YouTube thing was bad enough. They finally eased up, and then they did the Nintendo Creators Program, which was still kind of like, that's weird. But
50%, oh boy.
I mean, we're talking about a company that if you want to become friends with somebody in their online service, you still have to type in a fucking code.
Yeah, exactly. It's
the same code. The same system they've had since the fucking Wii. They've never updated anything.
like when I picked up Animal Crossing when it first came out, it was right at the beginning of the COVID lockdowns. Couldn't have come out at a better time, possibly. And I wanted to engage with some of my Twitter followers. I got quite a few, and I figured, like, I'll put my friend code out there, and we'll visit each other's islands. Well, it's such a pain in the ass that I barely even did it. There was only I got probably 500-600 friend requests. I was only able to respond to maybe 100 of them, and I only actually visited the islands of probably 15 of them because it's such a pain.
Yeah. Nintendo for sure has to, they just have to get with the times. I don't know what else to say other than that. They're very, I feel like they would even be catapulted so much further ahead of the current consoles and make even more sales if they just did a little more fan service. But they won't, and they never will. So
I don't get it, because in every other area, they are the great innovator.
mm-hmm.
They were
Right.
the first company that put out a dual analog controller, the first company with true haptic rumble feedback, the first company with functional motion control, the first company with this, the first company with this, bridging the gap between the mobile gamer and the hardcore home console gamer. Win after win after win, and everybody's copying their shit. And then when it comes to one of the most important experiences in modern gaming, the online play, they're just like, you know what? Fuck you. We're not even going to do it.
Exactly. It's unfortunate, but yeah. Now these stories I feel like are going to keep coming forward. We've talked many times about companies punching down, and Nintendo loves to do that.
And as long as they have Mario, they'll get away with it.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, what they have to watch out for is someday people like me, people in their late 30s or slightly younger or slightly older, that will buy every single Mario and Zelda title. We're going to fucking die, okay? Someday. We're going to be gone. Well, are our kids going to continue to put up with this ridiculousness, or are they going to move on to the greener pastures of the Xboxes and PlayStations of the world and just let Nintendo be relegated to the annals of history?
Exactly.
Someday it will happen.
That's easily a way Nintendo could become the Atari of future gens. Like, everything's becoming digital. You want to be able to play with your friends. As nice as a novelty as Mario is, there's just as many great platformers on other consoles, and you can get over it. So our kids won't have the nostalgia we did for those titles. It'll be interesting, but no, good pickup there, Jim.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would call this a good pickup, Jim, you son of a bitch. But
You love this segment.
It is your segment of YouTubers mad or gamers mad, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of people have been getting pissed off about this guy, Mega64, and his YouTube video of him basically saying, my PS5 won't play any discs, and he proceeds to put mayo in it, beat it with a hammer, just destroy the shit out of a brand new PS5. And we covered last week, there was a lot of people posting pictures of them destroying brand new Xbox Series X's. We said, I don't get this. I also don't give too much shits. Like, on one hand, if you're just buying your own personal system, do what you want with it, fine. The only caveat I can put to that is if for some reason this guy bought multiple PS5s, then I would have an issue with it. But if he just bought this one to make this video, which it seems like he probably did, maybe he bought one more after the fact. It's a weird thing to do, but I think people have overreacted to this video, which was clearly done as like a joke.
Yeah, so basically it's a follow-up to... Oh, sorry, Ken. Go ahead.
Well, this happens every single console generation. They've been doing this since YouTube was a thing. I'm going to unbox this thing that everybody wants. It's not exclusive to video game consoles, but a lot of times it's video game consoles. I'm going to get this thing that everybody likes, and I'm going to make them watch me break it. Ha, 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 ha. Aren't I funny? It's a prank, bro, whatever. To me, it is no different between this asshole and then the guy that does buy one of these or buy the old television and put it in a bank vault and never see it again.
Mhm.
You're robbing someone else of an experience just for your jollies, not for your own enjoyment of the thing, but just as a big middle finger to everybody who wants to enjoy that experience.
Yeah, I know Jim is way more lenient with people like this who do stupid things with their money and consoles. Okay, it's a joke. I don't get it. I think you're a complete asshole for doing it. But I'm also, at the same time, I'm not going to go out of my way to complain about this guy. But I do think in general, like, that's just an asshole, stupid move. And it's not like it's super well scripted, super well edited. There's nothing that funny about it. It's like you almost get the most comical relief out of it because of how much people freak out about you having done that. You're just an asshole. Like, why put out $500-600 to just destroy something? If he's got the money to do it, I guess good for him. But
Well, he probably made the money back in the YouTube views. The video's got
That's right.
it's got almost 600,000 views. So he probably made the money back, and he's getting a lot of exposure because we have to talk about it because there was such a reaction to it. So yeah, he's getting what he wanted out of it. It just makes me sad as part of it's evidence of the worst parts of our culture that like being a low grade sociopath is marketable. It's gross.
Yeah, that's like Jim's hero who decided to collect how many different versions of that stupid game that he had to have on his shelf because he wanted all of the same exact game.
Oh, one, not my hero. I just think it's funny. The guy,
You loved it.
I do love it. He has like 800 copies of Mario Duck Hunt just to fill up a wall of it.
Like,
Stupid, yes.
There's no fucking reason for it. That's my point.
It makes for a beautiful wall, Brian. See, you just don't know art. That's your problem.
Yeah. But like I said, this guy doing this, I guess you can consider this art too, Jim. He made a video out of it.
It's very true. So the reason I brought this up for the most part is like I just think the reaction to it's so overblown. Like for one, it's a reaction. Mega 64 has been around forever. It's a couple group of guys, and they did the same thing with the PSP back in like fucking 2006. So it's almost like a spiritual sequel to that. Now, is it a dumb thing in general for them to do? Yeah, but I think most of the butthurt just comes from people who haven't been able to get one who are like, oh, this is ridiculous because they took a PS5 away from, all these people who can't get it. It's like, motherfucker, you don't actually care. You're just mad that you don't have yours and that they're just breaking one. I don't know, like Review Tech USA was like, yeah, I get their video's a joke, but I still don't find it funny at all. It's low-hanging fruit, break a new console clickbait video. I despise them in 2006, and I hate them even more now. Like, really, dude? For one, like half the videos.
If you're really, really mad at them,
Yeah.
if you're really, really mad at them, don't pay attention to them.
Don't pay attention to them. Don't make a video reacting to it and linking it to the original video.
Exactly.
Yeah, they thrive on hate clicks and reaction videos for this kind of stuff. I'm not familiar with the rest of their content, but this type of video, absolutely. So if you just don't feed that fire, if you don't fuel it, they won't do it. Like if this video had gotten 65 views and they'd have lost a few $100 and, even though it's not that well edited or whatever, it still probably took them several hours to put together.
Right.
They think like, oh, well, I guess it's not going to be worth it when we go to do it for the PS6. So we're just not going to do it.
Yeah. No, unfortunately.
But now they'll absolutely will do it.
Yep. Exactly.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. I mean, I Review Tech, but then again, Jim, to your point, Review Tech and these other channels, they got to get their reactions out there. And unfortunately, this is a hot take of the month. So he's not going to give up a chance to not say anything about it. So it's like all these other channels are just keep feeding the monster. So the best news would be ignore it completely. Just let it slide by. But the biggest channels will comment on it. And here we are.
Yep. Pretty much. I mean, I don't know. Like, I saw, like, Guru Larry, who was like, I find people who do this shit deplorable. Like, really? Deplorable? Like, yeah, it's a dick thing. I just think, like, the deluge of hate that was thrown their way, besides them getting what they wanted, it's just like, come on, guys. You just can't see the obvious bait out there when it's being thrown at you. Like, stop. It's not that big a deal. He just lost out on his PS5. You have to buy another one, whatever.
Jim, what if somebody bought like 1,000 Genesises and just burned them all?
Good. Have fun. I already have mine. Gives more value to mine then. Fuck the paupers.
Damn it, Jim. That's not.
Now my copy of Musha went from $500 to $1,000. Lucky me.
Son of a bitch.
See, Brian, this is what's good about being amoral.
Son of a bitch. All right. So moving on, we did get a release from who did this, Jim?
It's the Game Awards, basically. So they have their things every year. I guess this year's event's going to be all online only because, public gatherings, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Don't know what's going on. But they did announce a bunch of their categories. And most importantly, they announced their nominees for Game of the Year, of which the nominees are Animal Crossing New Horizons, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and The Last of Us Part 2. And gentlemen, what are your picks? What do you want to win? What do you think will win?
Well, I think The Last of Us Part 2 almost certainly will win. And I can't say that it doesn't deserve it, having not played Ghost of Tsushima. But I don't know. I liked The Last of Us Part 2 well enough. I didn't like it as much as the original. In any regular year, I don't know if it's Game of the Year material, but we have very limited number of releases this year. So it's probably the top of the heap.
Yeah, this year I look at those added, and it's just a weak year for gaming. If this was like WWE, this is 1995, and I kind of just think like I don't get me wrong, love Doom Eternal, Animal Crossing, as you said, Ken, and many people said, it came out at the perfect time with COVID. Would it have sold as good? I don't think so. I still think it would have done fine. But with COVID, I think that doubled down the numbers it did. Final Fantasy VII Remake, I've kind of heard good and bad on it, the same as Ghost of Tsushima. Hades is like that, like, I don't want to call it fully a sleeper. Like, I know people who've played it who absolutely love it, but not enough people have played it. And Last of Us 2, unfortunately, that's the game that just has so much hype for all the wrong reasons. Everyone who I know I've played Last of Us 1, I didn't play 2, but everyone who I know who I trust their opinion has said what you just said, which is Last of Us 1 was much better than 2. So is it the best? Maybe in this category. But I haven't played enough of these games to give a real valid opinion. I just think this is just a pretty weak list of Game of the Year contenders.
Yeah, I would like to see Hades win just as that like indie darling, dungeon crawler, whatever, to get the win. But it'll like Ken said, it'll probably be Last of Us Part 2. That was the big journalistic, what do you call it, like, bait of the year. That'll be the one that everyone goes, oh yeah, we rose above all the, the Nazis online that were condemning us the entire time. So they'll probably just give it to that, even for that alone.
Gamergate too.
Yep. So
absolutely will win. It's the same reason that the most valuable player in baseball is not always the guy who was actually the most valuable player in baseball, because it's voted on by the baseball writers. Well, this is voted on by the game journalists, and the game journalists basically went to war with the gamers this year. Last of Us 2 was not as bad as a lot of the jackasses online said it was. You're like, oh, how'd you have so much muscle mass in the apocalypse? Shut the fuck up. It's a video game. She had a lot of muscle mass because she's a big girl, okay? And she punches people to death. And she eats a lot of burritos. I don't know what to fucking tell you. But it also didn't have, the writing wasn't as tight. The pacing wasn't as good. The story reveals, there weren't as many like unexpected twists. You saw where it was going the entire time. Plus, it really went out of its way to be Debbie Downer every single time. Every time there was a story branch, you think, hey, what's the most depressing thing that could possibly happen right now? Guess what? It's what fucking happens every time.
Yep.
And it gets a little tiresome by the end. By the time you get to the end, you're like, do I even want to play this anymore? Because I'm already like kind of sad, and I really don't want to jump off of something tall today. And it was just kind of a bummer. And also took some of your favorite characters and made them much less likable than they were before. But
Look,
but what are you going to do? The journalists loved it because it's yay, yes, queen, slay, go girl, which was not the point of the thing at all.
Look,
Exactly.
Neil Druckmann can get up there with his prize and his trophy and say, I made a game about killing dogs and pregnant women, and I still won Game of the Year. So, ha.
Neil Druckmann is also a low-grade sociopath. I'm convinced. He made a game. It really seemed like some of the decisions that were made were specifically not like, oh, we think this is the real artistic way to go and the way that we should do it because we believe this is our character. It was less that and more, what could we do that's going to make the stereotypical gamer the angriest? Let's do that. Let's intentionally piss off our core audience for the lulz and for the journalistic hand job we're going to get.
I know this is going to be a rough comparison, but I look at it kind of like the Grindhouse movies of the 70s. Like it's shock value. That's strictly what they're going for. So like you're saying, that's the equivalent of what they're trying to get today with those type of decisions. And yeah, if I put money down, I would say Last of Us 2 gets it for sure. Who I think deserves it, like I said, if you want to talk about what was talked about the most and played the most, you probably it shouldn't get Game of the Year, but you'd have to go Animal Crossing for that. My favorite of the ones I have played were definitely the Doom Eternal, but there's no chance in hell that ever gets the Game of the Year. There's not even a hint of a chance that gets that. So yeah, that's a good article there, but it's a weak year. That's all there is to it. It's a weak year for Game of the Year.
Pretty much. And as we close out this episode, it's Thanksgiving season. When this comes out will be the day before Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And from our buddy, Jayczar, any Black Friday deals we're looking out for?
I mentioned if I could find a console that was like drastically cut in half and I could get a hold of it, maybe I'd consider it. Other than that, I'm just going to see if there's any titles for current consoles that I was looking at that are cut drastically in half. But honestly, I'll even only do that digitally. Like there's not really, I'm definitely not going to goddamn stores. So it's whatever's on Amazon or whatever's available on Xbox or PS4.
I get the coup for deals.
Never.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a silver lining to COVID, and that being that it kills Black Friday, and we won't have to deal with the fucking stampedes to get cheap garbage. People are starting to slowly catch on. Like, oh my god, you can get a 75-inch TV for $18, and then you get it home and you realize that it only has one HDMI port and it's got 19 dead pixels dead center of the view. Like they make it specifically for Black Friday with cheap standards and no periphery, no nothing. People are starting to understand that, and hopefully now with fewer people going to be in stores, we'll see some of this insanity go away.
Yeah, every year I dread when I see the news channels show that same goddamn stampede of a store opening doors and they love showing it on the news. I would really hope with everything going on. It's not even possible, I think, in a lot of the situations because stores aren't even open the same way they used to, like we were talking about. But I just, goddamn people, like, between Amazon and everything else, every single deal you can get in stores. Yeah, you might not be able to get that shitty TV like you said, Ken, but you can get every other deal just online. Get it ordered to your house.
I worked at Walmart one year before I graduated college when the kid was a little baby. It was his first Thanksgiving. He's a little tiny baby, and I had to leave Thanksgiving dinner with the family at like 3 p.m. to go work midnights at Walmart to stack up all these displays of the hot toys and games and electronics and stuff for the year. So that first thing when we unlocked the doors at 4 a.m., a bunch of assholes could basically tackle each other through these displays. And, it was disgusting. So I feel bad for the retail workers. I wish that not only would Black Friday not be a thing, but that the stores would still be closed. Give retail workers the rarest thing possible, 2 days off in a row on purpose.
It'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, you would like to think that these stores would be doing that and people are smartening up. But as I was driving to work today, on my way to work is a shopping center. It's a nice one. And I noticed the parking lot was fucking packed. And I'm going, it's 6:45 in the morning right now. Why is it so goddamn packed? It was a DSW shoe store and had a big banner saying 75% off. So I'm sure there were 300 car fulls of women outside just waiting for that store to fucking open up. So no one ever learns.
Unfortunately, that's the truth.
So maybe they have to wait in a line or get a ticket to go in there. I don't know, but yeah, shit was packed. So I still think people are going to be people, and it's not going to be the all these local governments can try as they might, but people are not going to stay away.
Yeah,
That's just a bummer.
I was fucking shocked. I drove by and I was like, that can't be real. I almost wanted to like turn around and like go back just to take a picture.
I'm hoping a lot of the stores that are notorious, like Walmart's and all those, there's some restrictions or something, but no, it'll bring out the worst in people, unfortunately. And yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Jay, to go to your question, from what I'm not looking for anything specific. I'll check online. I don't have much hope because we know bots and bullshit buy it up real quick. But I'll try my hand and I'll just check the deals. If there's something that sparks my interest from a game, yeah, I'll get it. But I'm not going to like wake up at 12 a.m. to do that shit.
If I can get Assassin's Creed Valhalla for less than full retail, I'll snap it up. But I'm not going to get up early in the morning to look for it. And I'm definitely not going to any physical locations trying to get it.
That's actually a great game. That's a great example. That is a game I really want. So, yeah, same deal. If I can get it cheaper, sure. Not putting in extra effort to actually do it, though.
I still have my $5 for the month to use at GameStop. So I saw in one of their ads, Tekken 7 they have for like $12 now. So $5 off, I can get that for $7. That would be like the only thing I'm looking to keep an eye out for.
Damn it, Jim. If you had Game Pass, you could download it for free.
Oh, well. That's all I got. I got nothing.
You son of a bitch.
You're the one keeping GameStop afloat. It had to be somebody.
I am that asshole. Even before, what do you call it, like Corona started, like I was just getting the fucking – the only reason to have GameStop around, we've said it before, is just to load up on last-gen games that you never got to and get them for $3 a piece. That's the only reason you should ever go there.
I mean, we talked about them last week with our pals, the Thought Cops. Their ridiculous contest where they make their
the TikTok videos.
Pleasure. Good God.
Those poor
dance,
bastards.
Peasants, dance.
And they can get people to do it, just like most people can. It's a very sad truth.
People would rather swallow their pride, I guess. Well, I'm saying paycheck's a paycheck, especially these days. So what are you going to do?
But with that, we want to say, Jay, thank you for your questions. We do like it. And Ken, did you stick with Bud Light the whole night?
Yeah, I ended up polishing off 5 of them. Not a bad evening.
Nice.
Man.
Jim, what'd you think of the Buck Naked?
Good. It was good. Extremely smooth. Went like super easy to drink. I didn't get a lot of the cream from it if it's supposed to be a cream ale, but just as an easy drinking, almost just basic lager, perfectly fine one to go. Especially if you're not like a big craft beer person and you come across it, like you will enjoy that beer. Like I think Ken, you would actually enjoy this one.
Yeah, I mentioned Jim. It's not when I say cream ale, like that's a style. It's not supposed to be cream. What I did notice is when you drink it, there is a smooth creaminess to the mouthfeel, but not taste wise. Taste, yeah, it's strictly like a lager.
Yep. And then next up, I had the Thank Frank IPA, which when I first took it out, I just saw Frank IPA, and I was like, what is the Anne Frank IPA? And I was like, oh, thank God. But
damn it, Jim.
But no, this was, I mean, it's an IPA. Every brewery has
it in secret.
It was aged by 60 years. Everyone's going to know it later.
It's actually from the diary.
Oh, it's made with real paper. Interesting. But no, like as far as IPAs goes, every brewery has their IPAs. I didn't taste anything specific that set it apart from the rest, but it was a very solid IPA.
Nice. And I went through 2 Dirt Wolves. Like I said, they're 8.7%. So still my favorite double IPA I've ever had. And then I finished off my Saronac's Festival Pils. It's a Pilsner. It's a German Pilsner. Lots of good malts, good flavor. This is another one. If you're not into craft beer, that's a perfect transition beer. They like get you to try things that aren't just strictly IPAs. So not bad. Pretty damn solid overall. So
with that,
we want to say, Ken, thank you so much.
Ken, plug away, please.
Before we go.
I have so little to plug. You can follow me at KenBone18 on Twitter, or book me on Cameo. Just search for Ken Bone, and that's all I got. I have very few financial ventures. I work for a power company, so leave all your lights on so that power prices go up. Maybe I'll get a raise next year. I don't fucking know.
Nice. Awesome. Well, once again, we want to thank you for coming on, Ken, and for everyone listening. We truly appreciate you sticking with us. If you haven't already, please subscribe to us on YouTube, on iTunes, and if you haven't already, give us a rating. If you can, give us a 5-star, even if you want to blast us in the comments. We truly appreciate it. Any comments you give us, we do read and we do respond to. So we thank you for all your support, for watching us, and until next time, guys, cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.